So, this happened. Oh, it just feels so brand new and shiny. It's beautiful, nice. Oh, I'm gonna set it down for a quick second. Yo guys, what is going on? Jake Felzine here. Oh, today I'm hyped. I am so hyped to make this video. Apologies ahead of time. It's just a talking heads video. Nothing fancy, you know, we're just gonna chat. We're gonna have a little heart to heart. Today we are talking about why in 2020 I bought the Sony a7III, which again, if some of you recently watched my video about why I'm shooting Micro Four Thirds in 2020, you're going, what the heck, Jake, are you kidding me? Well, today in this video, don't y'all you keyboard warriors, just calm down. Don't worry, I'm still shooting Micro Four Thirds, but I did buy this camera, this brand new Sony, it's an old camera, old new, I mean, what is it, like 2 years old? I don't even know. It's a relatively old camera, but today we're gonna talk about why I bought this camera and just why I'm so excited to have it. I'm pumped. For the format of this video, guys, we're gonna break it into 3 sections. We're gonna first talk about why I bought this camera, the reasons to buy it. Second, we're gonna talk about, is it going to replace some of the already existing cameras that we've talked about extensively on this channel? And third, how does it stack up against my other cameras? Is it better? What's better? And just kind of, again, I'm brand new with it. I haven't had it for very long, but kind of talking about some of the things that people would buy this camera for. And is it better at those things than Micro Four Thirds? So let's dive right on into it. I do want to preface this video, again, I own way too many cameras. I own lots of cameras. I love cameras. Therefore, you know, for me, it's pretty easy to justify buying new ones because I just love cameras. But let's talk about the reasons why I bought this camera. First and foremost, I wanted better autofocus. Secondly, as far as full frame cameras go, getting a full frame camera and a good 2.8 zoom lens, it was pretty much the cheapest option for kind of the functionality, the specs, the image quality, all the above. This was kind of the best option at the most reasonable price. Thirdly, I was itching to get that full frame look. Now again, we talked about some of this in the last video. We're gonna talk about it a lot more today. I have been loving shooting with the GH5S, this camera, and the Sigma 18-35, and really just loving how full frame looks. And I wanted a camera without adapters that could look like that. Fourth reason, Sony colors. This is controversial. So many people hate the Sony colors. I strongly disagree. I think the Sony look is awesome. Becky and Chris, Daniel Schiffer, James Matthews, Josh Yeo, all of them are Sony shooters, and I personally love some of the moodier looks that they're getting from it. I think it looks fantastic. Fifth reason, guys, I think this camera is gonna be great for photography and little sub-bullet, tiny bullet under photography. I bought this camera for astrophotography. If you don't follow me on Instagram already, it's right there. Go follow me, go check me out. I posted 3 photos recently doing astro with this camera, and it wasn't bad, but it also just felt like it could be better with a full frame camera. So that was another reason, is just kind of, I'm having a lot of fun taking pictures recently, still loving making videos, of course, but I wanted that full frame look for my photos because it's just been a lot of fun to play around with this current setup and kind of the adapted full frame glass. Reason number 6, YouTube. This camera only shoots at 100 megabits per second, and the image quality seems to be pretty good from what I can tell. Ergo, for YouTube, having an actual smaller file size is great for me. I try to shoot as small of a file size as I can on this camera because otherwise I'm just drilling in with media space and my editing programs are struggling. And anyway, I wanted to see how this image quality was, even though the files are significantly smaller. And last but not least, my final reason for getting this camera, guys, is, as you guys have seen, Carly and I are having a lot of fun making food B-roll videos that are pretty much my attempts at kind of doing Daniel Schiffer style, James Matthew, Josh Yeo, all of these guys who are doing these B-roll, Peter Lindgren, all these guys who are doing these B-roll videos. I'm having so much fun making them. I love them. I love the slow motion. I think they are just like the funnest things to make. And I'm having a lot of fun doing it with Carly. You know, it's a great thing for us to do together. All of those guys use this camera. Josh Yeo uses this camera. Daniel Schiffer uses this camera. Peter Lindgren uses this camera. And I wanted this camera for those use cases. Oh, we need a quick coffee break. Dogs, Ozzy, what are you doing? Sorry, taking a dog break. Guys, having dogs is great, but, well, we're dog sitting this week. We've got another dog that we're sitting, but having one dog is plenty. Two? Ugh. Now we're talking about section number 2. Is this camera, the Sony a7III, going to replace any of my existing cameras? And I believe yes and no. Maybe. Kind of. We'll see. There's a chance that it might. There's a chance that it won't do anything. As far as client work, cinema work, professional work, like people are paying me to get the best quality stuff, that's my Blackmagic. That's always going to be my Blackmagic. I'm loving the Blackmagic. I think it's a beautiful camera. It's not going to replace that camera, and I don't know if Sony will ever make a camera that replaces that camera. It's so cheap, the image quality is so good, and it's just a professional video camera. The camera that I most envision it replacing is probably the Panasonic G9. We'll see. It may or may not replace this camera. This camera technically can shoot faster photos and is kind of, in some ways, a better sports photography camera, kind of. I don't know. This has higher resolution. The focus, I think, seems to be better. I just plan on pretty much taking all my pictures with this camera. And I'm not totally sure, but I think it's going to replace this camera for YouTube. In fact, for section number 3, let's switch on over. Sorry, I should have done the snap with the switch. On this next section, let's switch over to this camera. And voila, guys, just like that, we're filming on the Sony, got my monitor up top. I feel so official. Okay, guys, so in this final section, I want to talk about this camera and kind of the more specifics, the reasons that you heard why I bought it, and just how does it feel, right? How does it feel so far to use this camera? What's my experience been, and how is it stacking up against Micro Four Thirds? I will say, and I don't know if it's apparent in this video with like my big grins and smiles, one thing that I initially noticed right out of the gate with this camera is that at the end of the day, it is hilarious how much we stress all these different things that don't matter. You know, we always are caring about bit rates and color science and full frame and yada, yada, yada. You know, there's so many things on the spec sheet that we care about, and they're just not that important. You know, I mean, it was funny using this camera, which is a full frame. It should have that awesome bokeh. It should just be a beautiful, you know, everything's blurry, everything's washed out. And I will say, I mean, looking at this image right here, my background separation is a little bit nicer. It does feel like a little bit fuller of a shot, but is it mind-blowing? Is it just so much better than Micro Four Thirds? I don't think so. I mean, yeah, it is, but if you know your lenses, if you know your compositions, how to light stuff, how to shoot stuff, you can still draw people's attentions. And if you get the right lenses with adapters and whatnot, you can certainly still get very blurry backgrounds. So I know in this section, I've got a couple of things written down on my phone that I kind of want to go over, but really just, you know, how does this camera stack up against all the other ones that I use on this channel? The first one that I have written down is better dynamic range. This camera is rated at having really good dynamic range. And again, I would say that, you know, I think that's pretty true. For only an 8-bit codec and all the other, you know, kind of lackluster specs, I think this camera has pretty killer dynamic range. I agree with that. Better low light, again, guys, I think, you know, it's kind of obvious, like everyone knows this camera has really good low light. In comparison to the GH5S with the Sigma, I actually think that camera has better low light. But again, you know, this camera they're known for it. So far in my initial tests, the low light is a little bit better. Is it blowing my mind? I don't know. We'll see after we do the astro photos. Maybe that'll be the real big difference where I'm like, oh yeah, this thing crushes in low light, but we'll see. And you know what? Oh, gosh. I want to put it in this video, but maybe we'll do it in another one. We need another garage smoky guitar shoot, 120 frames. And just kind of see how the low light is with that setup in there. I have better autofocus on here. This is a big one, right? And I think I kind of wanted to get into this maybe a little bit more. I'm going to try not to ramble too much, but Panasonic's autofocus has never been known to be good. Some people really hate it. As someone who's used them for 2 years now, from where they were with like the first initial cameras that I bought to what I use now, their autofocus is pretty good. I mean, from then to now, it's actually pretty usable. I even feel comfortable enough kind of using continuous autofocus if I'm shooting a talking heads video where I'm moving in and out. Again, I think it's pretty good, and it's just funny because as soon as I pulled this camera out and I started using it, that was probably the #1 thing that I was like, this is Blackmagic. not to be confused with with black magic, but this is magic. Like this, it is insane how good the autofocus is. And Sony, you know, Sony and Canon have been duking it out over autofocus settings for a while now. And even this camera that's like a couple years old, hot damn, it's so good. I love how good the autofocus is, and it's rocking my world. Like it feels like when I pointed at stuff and it just snaps onto focus on something like that for photos, videos, whatever, it's just like, who knew life could be this good? So that is a big one, guys. I'm loving the autofocus. I guess we'll kind of see how it does as we, you know, shoot this talking heads piece, but autofocus is just stellar in this camera. If you haven't used it yet and you're still shooting Micro Four Thirds, I would go check it out. Better bokeh. I did learn. I watched an Arri Alexa, or I watched Potato Jet's video with the Arri Signature Prime lens guy. It is bokeh. The bokeh with this camera, is it better? Yes, immediately, of course. Is it so insane that like suddenly I'm just like Micro Four Thirds is dead to me? No, again, guys, I don't know how to drill this home anymore, and I'm gonna be sounding like such a broken record in this video. Buy the camera that fits what you wanna do, and then learn how to use it when it comes to your lighting, your composition, the way you shoot stuff, how close you are to the camera, how much bokeh you want to induce by being closer to a subject. It becomes really easy to achieve a lot of these looks that, you know, we all think only can be achieved on full frame with Micro Four Thirds. With that being said, better autofocus and just the fact that, you know, a 2.8 lens on this camera looks like this, that's pretty nuts. And it is definitely better. Like, you know, that's kind of just sort of the physical science of having a bigger sensor and being able to get closer to subjects and have a wider field of view. Bokeh is easier to get with full frame cameras. Is it a total deal breaker? Absolutely not. If you want a Micro Four Thirds camera, do not buy a Micro Four Thirds camera because you're like, I need that full frame look. Which I teased that in my Why I Shoot Micro Four Thirds videos. I was like, you know, Garage Jake was like, oh, we need that full frame look. It looks awesome. It's really cool. But again, is it make or break? I don't think so. So overall, guys, again, initial impressions, I haven't had this camera for very long. I think this camera is going to be a new YouTube workhorse for me, and I'm going to keep playing with it. I'm going to keep, you know, shooting stuff with it. And we'll probably do like an update video at some point, just kind of how's the a7III going and treating for you. So maybe, guys, if you're in a similar situation, you know, you're kind of seeing this and going like, okay, yeah, maybe the a7III is still a phenomenal camera. For what you get, for the price, I think this camera in 2020 is still a total steal for YouTube, for like, you know, kind of getting into photography, maybe starting to get into client work. I mean, I can't rave enough about this camera, and I'm kind of blown away that I didn't buy it sooner because I was just so hesitant between the menu system and just loving my Micro Four Thirds cameras that I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I need it. But again, I love cameras, so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna spend some of my fun money on this camera. And I just really have enjoyed it. And now I'm super excited because for like outdoor sports action type stuff, it's gonna be this camera and the GH5S. Those are gonna be my two shooters. Those are the only ones I have to bring in my bag, and they're gonna be great. Like suddenly my kit is gonna be so lightweight and professional at the same time. So I'm really excited about that. But anyway, guys, that's it. That's all I've got. Rambled there at the end. You know, this camera is really good and I really like it, but anyway, we're done now. Thanks for sitting through this Talking Heads video. Hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the subscribe and like button. We're gonna be using this camera to be making more stuff, more food B-roll, more random videos. We're just here to make videos and have fun doing it. So anyway, you guys have a good one. Peace out. Catch you in the next one, and I will see you later.